It's a pleasure to be here in KSA, and I'm grateful to Professor Alarifi and others at KSEST for giving us this opportunity. I wouldn't be talking about any technologies. Would I have a pointer, please? Would you have a pointer? Is there? Yeah. That'll be useful. Yeah.
This one.
That's correct.
Just hold this one, go on the slide one, two, just one.
I just need this. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't be talking about any technologies here. Basically, I'm going to talk about what we do, and which I suppose, in the light of the talk, the previous talk, I suppose it would have, what we do there would have some relevance to maybe what you're trying to be doing here. Because most of the things that were said, I said, aha, I thought you were talking about India. Except in that you said, okay, you said there are 338 million people spread over a couple of continents, and you're finding it difficult to work together. Boy, we have 1,150 million people all in the same country, but we have far more problems. Yeah, so I think there will be lots that we can share as we go on. Yeah. Well, this, I guess I can skip this by now, I think, because most people have said why we need FOSS, and pretty much same reason, except I just want to highlight this here, that its role in education and skill development, because India, education, manpower is a major asset that India has, unlike maybe KSA, you have a lot of natural resources, whereas we have to depend a whole lot on manpower, and they need training. And so open source ought to be playing a very central role in computer and IT education. And so for us, open source is very important from that point of view, because trained manpower is very important for economy. Rest of it, I think I can skip that. Most of this, everybody knows that. Well, one more thing maybe here. India has a fairly strong IT and computer industry. Probably the most successful industry that we ever had in our country. So one of the things that, as many speakers were saying, open source is really no more about a dissent movement or a fringe event. It's mainstream. Open source tools and technologies are mainstream IT. So today our corporate companies do need manpower and expertise in the area of open source as well. So in a way, creating manpower and expertise in open source is really contributing to mainstream economic activity of our IT corporate sector. That could also be probably rather different in elsewhere. Rest of the reasons are same, so I'm not going to spend time on this. I'm going to talk about two parts. What is this organization called National Resource Center for FOSS? And what do we do? And second part about, so this is something that we learned through doing the first part, that what it finally takes for open source to be able to deliver socially and economically, that it requires an ecosystem. And really the effort has to be in how does one build that ecosystem. So these are the two parts of this. Yeah, so why we set it up? This was set up sometime in 2005 by us and along with another government research lab called CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing. I think there is probably an MOU being signed by KACST with CDAC, I think. Last time after our Prime Minister visited, there's some initiative going on. So basically this project, NRCFOSS, is being done jointly with CDAC. So that was set up in 2005. And then it, of course, it has expanded subsequently. Now we have about 8 institutions. I'll come to that later. So why was it done? Goals, again, goals are, why would anybody look at open source software? So to spread awareness, for example, that's a serious problem in India. Awareness in the country. It's not even so much why somebody isn't using open source, not because somebody's against it. I mean, it's Microsoft saying use me. It's not really that. People don't even know it exists. right? So it's not so much by design that it's not getting promoted. It's just because people are not aware of it. So spreading awareness. And when I say people, I don't mean common people. I'm talking about people in government, people in academia, people in industry, and so on. So one of the goals is to spread that awareness amongst these segments. And of course, next is, of course, develop human resources, because ultimately software is about people who write software. Right? It's not about lathes and machines and so on. So the key is have people trained in open source skills and knowledge. So that's a major component of this project, to create human resources. And that's a part that we handle at my university, about creating human resources in open source. And this is another goal that, especially with the government applications, to provide support to the use of FOSS tools and solutions in administration and governance, that even where governments some governments are willing to use, they probably do not have the support or the expertise to fall back on. So one of the objectives of this project is to be able to do that. And part of that is creating repositories and knowledge banks, including in Indian languages. So that's something I don't even want to touch on. In India, language is a very huge problem. In the sense, much of governance and business actually gets done in English, whereas most of the people who are on the other side of this, governance and business, common people, they don't use English. So we have a huge gap there. Let me not go into that. Right. And other goal is to create interoperability standards. Even within open source, which distributions to use, because as you probably know, India is a very huge country with some 30 provincial governments using different languages. So unless there are some standards agreed on that, okay, we will use this distribution across this domain, it becomes very difficult to get going, even though everybody's agreed that we should be doing it. So having standards and interoperability norms is one of the goals of this project. And well, this is something that, since we are so huge, we don't even know whether we are getting anywhere. So we don't have metrics at all, a way of measuring. Where are we now in open source? So some tools are being developed for that. And there is some part of NRCFOSS which supports specific research, because, for example, one of the institutions, one IIT, I think, is doing security research, what David was talking about, hardening Linux kernel kind of stuff. So there is a part of the project which actually supports hard research and technology development. And of course, networking is here, which is part of the reason why I'm here now. Right, and so this is the structure of the program, structure of the organization. Let me say structure first and then functions. Yeah. So structure is, well, this is that government research lab. It's a network of research labs, 14 research labs, and they are the people who manage NRCFOSS project. And the participating institutions are these. There are some laboratories in these cities of CDAC. They're involved in it. The Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai, Madras and Bombay are involved, and we are involved here. So there are about, I think there are 7, 8 institutions right now, but probably that's an expanding picture. And so funds are government funds. We are entirely funded by the government of India. The funds are managed by CDAC through this and so on. And what we do are these 4 different things. We do education, training, and certification. That's one of the tasks of the project. We do technology development and deployment. That's open source technology development and deployment. And we do academic research more in terms of hard, computing and software related research. And we create repositories and knowledge banks. So NRCFOSS project tries to do these 4 different things. And these tasks are, of course, divided amongst these institutions. For example, education, training, and certification, we are responsible for it. And technology development and deployment is essentially CDAC labs are responsible for it. Academic research is being carried out largely in the IITs. And this, of course, is done by everybody who contributes to this. So that's a kind of picture we have of the NRCFOSS project. And, oops. One of the things, actually I will talk more here on this part that we do, what we do in education, training, and certification. But before I go into that, I just want to say this. One of the things that has been done in this project, NRCFOSS, by CDAC basically, is development of an Indian distribution. Right, it's their activity, so I don't have to necessarily defend everything. There's a feeling at the political levels that India requires its own distribution. I guess we saw China had one, so we always have this problem of comparing with China. Yeah, right. So I said, why don't we have? And well, money was given, and we have done that. I mean, it's actually being used, right? So it's derived from Debian. This is called BOSS. Yeah, but the key things there is that it provides Indian language support. For example, ideally someday we would have BOSS